Your heart starts pounding. Not fast, pounding. Your chest tightens. You can't get a full breath. Your hands go numb, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a thought forms that you cannot shake. I think I'm dying. If you've had a panic attack, you know that no description does it justice. It's not fear, it's your entire body screaming that something is catastrophically wrong right now. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I work with people who've had to go to the emergency room convinced they were having a heart attack multiple times, only to be told every time it's just a panic attack, as if that makes it any less real. Today, I'm going to show you what is actually happening in your brain during a panic attack, including a finding from 2024 that changes how we understand panic at the neurological level. And then I'm going to tell you about the single most effective approach the research has identified for breaking the cycle. Fair warning, it's the opposite of what most people are told to do. Let me walk you through what's actually happening during a panic attack. Because once you see this, you can't unsee it. It starts with a sensation, not a thought, a sensation. Your heart skips a beat, a flutter in your chest, a moment of dizziness. These things happen to every human body, every single day. They're normal. Most of the time, you don't even notice them. But if you've had a panic attack before, your brain has been rewired to notice, and more importantly, to interpret. Here's the sequence. You feel a sensation, your heart rate increases, your brain, now hypervigilant for exactly this signal, does something very fast and very automatic. It decides that sensation means danger. This is a heart attack. I'm about to pass out. I'm losing control. That interpretation creates anxiety. The anxiety produces adrenaline. The adrenaline makes your heart beat harder. You're breathing shallow. Your hands tingle. And now your brain has more evidence that something is wrong. So it interprets harder, more catastrophically, and the loop accelerates until you hit the peak, full-blown panic. This was first described by a psychologist named David Clark in 1986, and decades of research have since confirmed it. Here's what I want you to hear. The sensation is not the problem. The interpretation is the problem. Your heart rate going up is not a panic attack. Your brain deciding that your heart rate going up means you're dying, that is the panic attack. Panic is a false alarm interpreted as a catastrophe. And that distinction changes everything about how you respond to it. It doesn't just ruin the 10 minutes of the attack, it starts shrinking your entire life. You stop exercising because a racing heart feels too close to panic. You avoid caffeine, then crowds, then driving alone. You start dreading sleep. The list of things that feel safe gets shorter and shorter, and the life you're willing to live gets smaller and smaller. Panic doesn't just attack you, it constricts you, and breaking that constriction requires understanding why this isn't what most people think it is. Most people assume panic attacks are just anxiety turned up to a 10. Same system, more intensity. But the evidence actually says otherwise. You don't need an anxiety disorder to have a panic attack. Roughly 1 in 4 adults will experience panic once in their lifetime. If panic were just extreme anxiety, that wouldn't make sense. And in 2024, researchers at the Salk Institute may have discovered why these are different. Researchers at the Institute found a brain circuit that drives panic, and it runs outside the amygdala. Panic and anxiety may literally be running on different wiring. If panic engages a different alarm system, then your anxiety tools aren't failing, they're aimed at the wrong target. You're not broken, you may be using the right tools on the wrong system. Now, panic disorder is still classified under anxiety disorders, and anxiety does increase your risk of panic attacks. But understanding that panic has its own neurobiology explains why it needs its own approach. And this is where most people get it wrong. If you've ever Googled how to stop a panic attack, you've been told to breathe, deep breathing, box breathing. And I want to be clear, if controlled breathing helps you survive the moment, keep doing it. I'm not here to take away your life raft, But here's the trap. When breathing becomes your primary strategy, when the first thing you do every time is to try and calm the sensations down, you're teaching your brain exactly the wrong lesson. Think about the message. Sensations appear and you immediately try to make them stop. What has your brain learned? That those sensations were dangerous enough to require an emergency response, that you couldn't have survived them if they'd continued, that shutting them down was the only safe option. The act of rushing to control these sensations confirms your brain's worst belief. This was a real threat. Good thing we shut it down in time. Panic is a false alarm. And if you respond to a false alarm the same way you'd respond to a real emergency, the alarm never learns it was wrong. When researchers analyzed over 70 trials to find which parts of panic treatment actually drive recovery, breathing retraining had some of the smallest effects. The component that came out on top is something most people have never heard of. The approach that breaks the cycle does something you would never expect. The most effective approach for panic isn't about calming the sensations down. It's about proving to your brain that the sensations were never dangerous in the first place. And it's called interoceptive exposure. And the idea is the opposite of what you've probably been told. Instead of avoiding the physical sensations you fear, you deliberately bring them on purpose in a controlled setting. It sounds like the worst idea you've ever heard, but the logic is airtight. Remember the loop? Sensation, catastrophic interpretation, panic. Interoceptive exposure targets the most powerful point in that loop, the interpretation. When you intentionally make your heart race by running in place, doing jumping jacks, and then you sit with that sensation and nothing catastrophic happens, your brain receives information it has never had. The sensation is not a threat. My heart is pounding and I'm fine. Do it again, heart pounds, nothing happens. Again, and every repetition weakens the catastrophic interpretation. You are rewiring the link between the sensation and the conclusion, I'm in danger. Here's the simplest way to think about it. Every time you feel a sensation and rush to calm it down, you're casting a vote for danger. Every time you feel the same sensation and let it be there and nothing bad happens, you're casting a vote for safe. Interoceptive exposure is the process of casting enough votes for safe that your brain finally updates the conclusion. And the data says this is the most powerful tool we have for panic. And the research shows intentionally getting your heart rate up in a safe context is one of the most powerful ways to retrain your brain. The sensation you've been running from may be the very thing that sets you free. I want to be direct. Formal interoceptive exposure is most effective with a therapist who's trained in exposure-based CBT for panic. The research found that face-to-face delivery was associated with better outcomes than self-guided formats. A trained therapist calibrates the exercise to your specific fears, ensures that you stay in the exposure long enough for the learning to happen, and catches safety behaviors that quietly undermine the process. So if panic attacks are a regular part of your life, seek out a psychologist or therapist who specifically uses exposure-based CBT for panic disorder. Now that you understand the mechanism, you know what to look for and what to ask about. In the meantime, start paying attention to the interpretation step. The next time a bodily sensation spikes your anxiety, don't immediately try to make it stop. Pause and ask, what's my brain telling me this means? Is that actually true? You're not eliminating the sensation. You're interrupting the story. My video on the 5 anxiety lies that your brain tells you gives you specific cognitive reframing tools to practice that skill. And my videos on mindfulness teach you to observe what's happening in your body without reacting to it. Together, these build the foundational skills that also make formal treatment significantly more effective if you pursue it. And if you avoid exercise because it mimics panic, start small. A short walk where you notice your heart rate increase and you let it be there. That's not formal interoceptive exposure, but it's practicing the same principle. The sensation is not the enemy, your brain's story about it is. Now, before I give you your action step, I want to address something that many people experience in silence. Panic attacks that happen while you're asleep. No nightmare, no noise, You're sound asleep, and then suddenly you're awake, heart pounding, chest tight, drenched in sweat, convinced that something is terribly wrong. And it's deeply disorienting because there's no obvious trigger. You weren't even conscious. Same mechanism, different starting point. Your brain tracks your body even while you sleep. If a normal shift in heart rate or breathing triggers the misinterpretation loop, you wake up mid-escalation, already in the cycle, before you're fully conscious. 3 things that help. First, knowing this is the same loop, not a medical emergency. Your body's doing what it does during a daytime attack. It just started while you were asleep. Second, treating daytime panic typically resolves nocturnal attacks because you're weakening the same pattern. Third, if you wake up in a panic, orient yourself. Where am I? Am I safe? What time is it? Grounding yourself in the present gives your prefrontal cortex a chance to come online and interrupt the cycle. If nocturnal attacks are frequent or making you afraid to sleep, bring that to a professional. Sleep disruption compounds everything. If what I've described sounds like your life, not a one-off event, but a pattern that's limiting where you go, what you do, and who you're willing to be, get a professional evaluation. Panic disorder is one of the most treatable conditions in all of mental health. The largest CBT meta-analysis ever conducted confirms that treatment works and the effect sizes for panic are among the strongest in psychotherapy. Seeking help for this isn't weakness, it's the most strategic thing you can do for a problem with a known evidence-based conclusion. Here's your one thing. This week, practice catching the interpretation. The next time a bodily sensation makes you anxious, your heart speeding up, a wave of dizziness, tightness in your chest, don't immediately try to make it stop. Pause and ask, what is my brain telling me this means? And is that actually true? The sensation is information. The story your brain tells you about it is where the panic lives. If you want to go deeper, start with my videos on the 5 anxiety lies your brain tells you. Lie number 4 is directly connected to what we covered today. Now drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had a panic attack you were sure was a heart attack? And if you want to get better at noticing what's happening in your body without your brain turning it into a crisis, watch this one next, where I break down the skill that changes how you relate to everything you feel. I'm Dr. Tab Shamsi. I post new videos every week. If that sounds useful, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.